So with the release of the new Halloween film, I thought it'd be time to go and rank all 11 films from the worst to the best in my opinion. Keep in mind this is just my opinion, so please don't break out a war in the comment section. These are just movies. Tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, which ones you love, which ones you hate. I have some opinions that I think some people really aren't gonna like. So yeah, go ahead and tell me your opinion down below, and yeah, let's get started. At number 11 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Rob Zombie's dialogue in this movie is just bad. The characters are so unkind and just so mean to each other, it's just not fun to watch. The color scheme is all over the place. The hallucination sequence at the beginning of the movie is way too long. Loomis is just being super uncharacteristic, which stings because a lot of people thought, you can't replace Donald Pleasance. That's what a lot of people said about the Doctor in the new movie, but I thought that Malcolm McDowell was the perfect choice to, I don't want to say replace, but, follow in the footsteps of Donald Pleasance. I mean, he's the dude from A Clockwork Orange. And so when we see him in this movie and he's just not acting like Loomis at all, it's frustrating. None of the side characters have any personality. I honest to God don't even remember their names. Now, the concept of this movie isn't bad, diving into the psychology of Michael Myers and trying to make kind of a psychological thriller that follows in the footsteps of Psycho 2. But it just doesn't fit a Halloween movie. I think that Rob Zombie should have remade Friday the 13th instead of Halloween. That way he could have done with his first remake, he could have went back and made like a full prequel as opposed to a prequel remake. So I'll give the movie this. It's the most artistic Halloween movie. It's the one that I feel like has the deepest themes, which is strange since it's a Rob Zombie movie. It comes from the guy that directed this. But yeah. At number 10 is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Now, I want to stress there's a huge jump up from here. This is where the movies I actually can watch start happening. Now, I really want to like this movie because I don't want to be that guy that just doesn't like it because Michael Myers isn't in it. But I just couldn't find myself getting engaged in it. The suits just aren't as intimidating as Michael Myers. There's no reason for the main character Doctor to just become Sherlock Holmes all of a sudden. The characters are pretty bland. And then there's the plot, which is just, I have no idea where this plot came from. An old man wants to use Halloween masks and the power of Stonehenge to somehow kill children because of some Irish tradition. What? What even is the plot of this movie? If I had to give it some positives, I'd say the acting isn't terrible and John Carpenter's score is pretty good. Not great, but good enough. At number, what is this, 9, is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Now, Halloween 4, 5, and 6 kind of form a quasi-trilogy following Jamie Lloyd, and this is definitely the weakest of that trilogy. Replacing Rachel with Tina was just not a good idea. Loomis kind of does some uncharacteristic stuff in here, not as uncharacteristic as Halloween 2, but some stuff that I just don't feel like Donald Pleasance Loomis would do. They build up the Man in Black's identity as some big mystery, but he's barely in the movie. None of the side characters are memorable, not in the slightest. If I had to give the movie something positive, I would say the psychic connection between Michael and Jamie is interesting. And there are some good jump scares, but there's no creepy moments. The thing that the first movie relied on and that made it work so well wasn't jump scares, but genuinely creepy moments, and this movie just doesn't have those. Coming in at number 8 is Halloween Resurrection. Now, I know a lot of people hate this movie and have it at the bottom of their Halloween rankings, but I do not mind it at all. The premise is okay, people trapped inside the Myers house. Busta Rhymes both makes and breaks this movie. See, he is hilariously entertaining to watch, but he's also really, really cheesy and kind of takes you out of the experience. Yes, it feels more like a Scream movie than a Halloween movie, but it's not bad. And I admire the fact that the movie kind of tried to have another layer to it, even if the layer doesn't really work in the slightest. It at least tried to kind of have a message to it. The characters are okay, so all in all, the movie's not great, but it's a very decent slasher movie. Coming in at number 7 is Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, what this movie does right, it does right. They do a good job portraying Michael as just this unrelenting force of evil. And it doesn't go for the slow burn, the same way the original movie did, which is good. But unfortunately, the good things don't quite make up for the bad ones. Like Paul Rudd, I mean, he's a very talented actor nowadays, very charismatic, but he just isn't very good in this movie. The ending part of this film is horribly edited. Like, there are some scenes where I just had no idea what was happening. Then there's just the ending, the whole final showdown, the climax is just bad. I won't get into any spoilers, but it's just bad. There are some intriguing concepts in the movie, like a boy who has the same condition as Michael Myers, but these concepts just don't go anywhere. I would love to see the producer's cut of this movie. I know that you can buy the DVD probably on Amazon. I haven't looked, but I definitely want to hunt it down and see if it's any good. At number 6 is Halloween H20, 20 years later, or H2O. I really like the opening scene to this movie. It reintroduces Michael Myers very well. Laurie's PTSD is portrayed really well. And so is her conflict with her son. It's good because they both have genuine points. The film is very self-aware. Like, Janet Leigh is playing a character named Norma, who is very, very maternal over Laurie Strode, and I just think that is brilliant. This is to the film's benefit, because it makes it stand out from the rest of the movies in the franchise. And I'll admit that the final confrontation between Laurie and Michael is incredibly satisfying. But this movie does have a lot of flaws. Laurie herself is a bit unlikable. I much preferred Laurie's characterization in the 2018 movie. And also, the conflict between the characters just doesn't have any payoff. There's some conflict between Laurie and her son and his girlfriend, and Laurie's new love interest, and the conflict just doesn't really, it never gets resolved. Then there's the last, 45 minutes of this movie, which just don't feel right. They're way too quick, they feel choppy and a little bit awkwardly edited. If the last 45 minutes of this movie were better, this movie would have gone up several slots on this list, but unfortunately, I have to put it here. At number 5 is Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now, the prologue to this movie both helps and hurts it. It makes Michael more sympathetic and adds some originality, but kind of ruins the mystery of the original movie. And while Scout Taylor Compton is not a bad choice for Laurie, Rob Zombie kind of ruins her character by making her inconsistent. She's kind of sweet, innocent Laurie in one scene, like in the original, and then she's doing this. The second part of the movie is, it's okay once it starts being kind of a remake of the original. Rob Zombie's dialogue is so disgusting and crass, and I just don't know how to describe it, that the characters just aren't likable. To the movie's credit, the casting is pretty good. Like I said before, most people think that Donald Pleasence is irreplaceable, but getting Malcolm McDowell, wow, that was a really good casting choice. Brad Dourif stands out, even Sherry Moon Zombie to some extent. Even Tyler Mane as Michael Myers. Even though a lot of people prefer Nick Castle because he's smaller and more unassuming, Tyler Mane is definitely the most physically intimidating Michael Myers. At number 4 is Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers. Now, I like this movie a lot more than I thought I would. There's a really good opening scene that kind of establishes the characters. They do a good job making us feel sympathetic for the main character. There's also some really good set pieces in the movie, like the roof scene and the back of a moving pickup truck. This movie has a great idea for an ending, but it's not quite executed well due to the fact that the protagonist is like 7 years old. This movie does definitely have its flaws, though. There's a little bit of awkward editing. Donald Pleasence obviously does not need a cane. Plus, somehow, Loomis and Michael both just survive the explosion. And this movie definitely has the goofiest mask in the franchise. Like, it's laughable. At number 3 is Halloween 2, 1981. The opening scene is pretty good. I like how there's a scene at the beginning that's from Michael's point of view. I don't really like the fact that you can see Michael's eyes through his mask. It humanizes him, and he shouldn't be humanized. This film's characters aren't as likable as the ones in the first film. The main problem this film faces is just that it's kind of boring, honestly. Michael, Loomis, Laurie, none of them have enough screen time. Instead, the screen time is donated to characters that get a little bit of development and then die. So yeah, I mean, the movie's not terrible. It's pretty good. It's better than most of them, but it's just not quite great. At number 2 is Halloween 2018. Now, the things this movie does right, it does great, but the things that it does wrong, could use a lot of improvement. Jamie Lee Curtis makes a triumphant return. Her characterization is great, and she brings a lot of personality to the role. The score in this movie is great. John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, and Daniel DeVries have created something really unique. There are a couple characters and their respective subplots that just don't need to be there, honestly, though. You could cut them out really easily. Most of the side characters had potential but are kind of wasted. Like Laurie's daughter, the reporter, the doctor, the sheriff, they all feel like that. The movie does have some great callbacks to the original, though, which I really like. So the movie's good, and it is definitely my second favorite in the franchise, but there's a gap between this one and what's number 1. I wish the gap was a lot smaller, though. But of course, at number 1 is the original masterpiece, Halloween. This movie, like, its importance cannot be understated. To the people who are just casual moviegoers, it's nothing more than just a generic slasher movie. But it's so much more than that. Michael's build-up is excellent. The conversation that Loomis and the nurse have, the scene where Laurie goes to his house, the way he stalks Laurie and Tommy, the way they build up to him is just so perfect. Michael's characterization, or lack thereof, is really good. He's mysterious, manipulative, and has an air of intelligence about him. The score is great. Like, I can listen to this like it's an actual album. I like how the movie depicts Michael as a tad supernatural, but never explicitly states it. He appears to have, like, superhuman strength and the ability to teleport. But the way that it's done, the way that it's shot and edited by John Carpenter, makes it actually scary, not cheesy. Laurie is introduced very well. She's a cliche, but not at the same time. She is the template for so many survivor girls and slasher movies, but is unique and memorable at the same time. And the fact that Michael has no motivation to kill Laurie makes him scarier. I didn't realize that he had no motivation until after I was done watching this movie the first time I watched it. There's some very good cinematography. Lots of things are out of focus, and there's lots of uses of figure ground. So yeah, that's my ranking. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Why do you agree? Why do you disagree? So yeah, I would love to do more horror franchise rankings in the future. I have most of the Friday the 13th movies and most of the Psycho movies. I would love to rank those and rank Nightmare on Elm Street and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Child's Play. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Bye.